Hello everyone and welcome to Violin Axioms, where we break down violin technique into small axiomatic units and examine them and then integrate them back into our playing. So there are lots of little rules that go into playing any musical instrument. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel so you get a list of all of them and can start to use them in your playing. Today's episode is called 5 Axioms for Better Memory. So you could try these things and see if they help you in your building memory confidence. Okay, the first of these things is whatever level you're playing at, whether you're just a beginner or if you're very advanced. Part of being confident with memory is just doing it a lot and don't make a big deal out of it. So start by memorizing easy music. A lot of kids who are brought up memorizing music, of course, they keep playing the same pieces over and over and over, and so it becomes part of who they are. And this is a great way for those of us who are consuming or learning music faster than that to still think that we want to memorize easy pieces to sort of exercise our memory muscle and then go from that simple thing to something more complex. And even you might be surprised how difficult it is to memorize even easy music if you haven't been memorizing music. So make sure that what you can do with that is break it down into smaller bits, and with those smaller bits, then string them together. It usually takes a fair amount of time to do this, depending upon the complexity of the music. So give yourself a couple weeks at least of practicing your memory exercise every day. And see if that doesn't make you more confident. So the main thing here with axiom number 1 is start by memorizing easier music. All right. The second thing to think about here is that memory exists in many different ways. In language, of course, we think about when we learn to speak any language, we're talking about reading, writing, and speaking. And I think there is something analogous going on in music, okay, with with music memorization. So when you are reading, that is, you're employing your photographic memory, right? What do I see and how do I remember what I saw? All right. The speaking part is the phonographic memory, right? Just learning how to remember by what you heard. And then maybe reading is like theoretical memory. This word means that, I recognize that spelling, I know that alphabet, this ordering, etc. Okay, so reading, writing, and speaking. But there are, analogously here, there are 4 different kinds of memory that you can use. So phonographic memory, right? Phonographic memory is learning pieces by looking at the music and remembering how it looks. Phonographic memory, remembering how it sounds. Tactile memory, remembering how it feels when you play it, okay? And then finally, theoretical memory, which is to say, this piece or this phrase is 4 bars long, it's in the key of D major, it's in the 4/4 key signature, it employs a D major scale, and then a D arpeggio, and then a G arpeggio, an A arpeggio, an A7 arpeggio, whatever it might be. So all of those things can be combined, and if you work thoughtfully and deliberately on memorizing in many of those modalities, it's a much better way to make your memory bulletproof, right? Because if one should fail you for just a moment or two, there are 3 other kinds of memory right there to catch you. So thinking about having more than just one kind of memory. Rely on more than just one kind of memory. All right. A great way to just start your memory process is to listen to the piece a lot and listen to it without music. So you're feeding your phonographic memory by just listening. And you can put it in your earbuds and listen to it a lot. Listen to it around the house, in the car, wherever you are. Listen to the projects, the pieces that you're doing. Listening to a lot of different recordings is also helpful because, of course, you get some different ideas. But the main thing is to have it permeating with you and percolating with you. So far we've basically talked about 3 of these axioms, right? Memorizing easier music, first of all, to start with. Memorize using 4 different kinds of memory so that you have 4 kind of feet to your table that are going to prop up your memory. Listening to the piece without music. And then when you're learning music, one thing that we always use in all kinds of learning is something called chunking. It is just taking little pieces and collecting and understanding, memorizing the small chunk, and then adding on chunks. A great example of this is the way we read sentences, right? First we read words, and then we read part of a phrase, then we read sentences, then we read paragraphs, chapters, and books. So there's an analogous way to work on music. So I'm going to show you what I'm trying to talk about here with a little example. If you'd like to follow along, the piece I'm using is the Fantasia number 10 for unaccompanied violin by Georg Philipp Telemann. Okay, Fantasia number 10 by Telemann. It's a relatively easy piece, and depending upon your level, of course. And I'm going to just begin by working on the first 4 bars. Okay. Let me play them for you, first of all. I just stopped on the downbeat of the 5th bar. Okay, so some things that I can do right away to work on my theoretical memory is that I can notice, well, it is in D major, it's in 4/4 or common time. That phrase is 4 bars long. And then it has a lot of repetition in it too. Those elements are like little words that I can break down into like one memory unit each. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be thinking about this in half bars, in half notes. So if I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If I'm counting that way, I'm delivering the commands in half notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? And a great clue on how to do this is if you look at your music, you'll often see that notes are beamed together. In instrumental music, this is especially common. In vocal music, not so much, of course, but there you have language to help you memorize notes. Here, you can look at the beaming, and the composer is sort of telling you with the beaming, these things go together in some way. These things are a word or a phrase or something. So I'm going to be thinking about each of those units as a word to my musical sentence. One. And I'm not going to be in a hurry with this. I'm just going to figure it out and then play. Okay, so I'm at this point pretty much working on words. I'm not working on individual letters. I might need to do that if the music is complex enough. I might have to literally go note by note the way I learned to read back in first and second grade, where I was just working on individual letters and individual syllables. But here, I'm choosing to look at words. Okay, so I hope you can appreciate that this is a word, this is a word, this is a word, this is, this is, this is, this is, this is. Okay? And I'm going to then try and string those things together. Before I do that, I might also, for my theoretical memory or my tactile memory as well, memorize open D and third finger, D the key of the D the key, and now these that's a descending part of a major scale. And then here, the notes of a D arpeggio. And for those notes, 2, 4, 2, 0, for example, or F sharp A, F sharp D, however you want to think about it. Hopefully you want to think about it several ways, so it's integrated as several pieces of information in one thought bubble, like reading, writing, and speaking. In any event, is a thought bubble, and I want to make sure I press save. Okay, then the next one. Okay, G, B, G, D, 3, 1, 3, 0. Okay, or a G major triad broken into an arpeggiated form. Press save. Down, up could be another way of thinking of it. Then we're going back to our D arpeggio, or a D chord for the next thought. And then finally, an E chord, G sharp, B, G sharp, E. Okay? And each of those is one little thought bubble. So I'm not thinking about each individual note. I'm thinking about D, G, D, E. Okay? Now you might ask, I guess I need to know the theory then. I guess I need to know my chords. Well, yes, that would help, but you don't need to do that. Just like you can learn the lines of a play, or you can learn how to read a book. And yes, it's helpful to know grammar really well, but grammar is only part of the story. You can learn it just by doing it and breaking it down into units that make sense like that. Okay? So ultimately what I'm doing at this point is I'm thinking in half bars, and I'm delivering those thoughts in my memory in half bars. 1, 2. Now maybe ultimately, just like in language, I can get that so that it's like a sentence. I think one thought and the whole sentence is one thought, okay? And that is something that distills over time, so I'm looking then to think about it as a sentence. Right? And from there, maybe if I practice my next sentence with words as well, maybe I can get to a paragraph like this. Right? And from there to a paragraph and to a chapter and so on. So working with words, sentences, and paragraphs as you unpack your memory and being organized about how you deliver the mental commands to control what you're and remember what you're doing. Like I said, a great way to sort of figure out how to start with that is to look at the beaming of the music and see if that shows you how many notes you might want to, the composer thinks you want to think about together. Okay. And then lastly, when you're closer to having the piece really memorized, when you've learned all the notes and learned all the words and sentences and so on, you can review your memory by selectively taking away things. And one of the best ways to do this is play the piece not from memory, but just without the instrument. So if you sit with your music and imagine it, hearing the note, hearing the piece, maybe even literally singing the piece and miming the piece, but without the instrument in your hand, because that kind of challenges your sense of comfort, and therefore, do I know or don't I? So, for example, with that same little Telemann Fantasia, I could physically play 3 2 1 4 3 2 4 2 0 3 1 3 0 2 4 2 0 4 1 4 0 A, down, up, 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 down, up. Okay? And I break those things down and see if I can do that. Can I hear it in my mind? Could I actually sing that? Then I'm not going to make you listen to me sing, but it is a worthwhile thing to be able to do, to sing the notes. Okay. And then after I've done that, then can I actually just stand here, close my eyes, and play through the piece or the phrase in my mind without touching the instrument and without looking at the music? I think what you'll discover is that wherever your weak spots in memory are, while you play, they will also manifest themselves in the memory without the instrument. If you use not the instrument and just play from the mind, it really reveals what you know and don't know. So that is a great way to test your memory. Just be aware it's difficult, and you might want to have the instrument right on hand, the music right on hand, because you'll have to refer to it for a while until you get more comfortable with the piece. Okay, so those are the 5 axioms for today for memorizing things better and easier. Start with number 1, memorize easier music first. Okay. Number 2, memorize using the 4 types of memory: photographic memory, phonographic memory, tactile memory, and theoretical memory. Number 3, listen to the piece a lot so that you're familiar with it. It's sort of part of your unconscious. Number 4, learn in memory units or chunks. So I'm breaking the music down into words that make sense to me, sentences that make sense to me, so that I'm memorizing words or lines to a play and not just random notes. And then finally, take the instrument away and practice just with the music at first, but without the instrument, and then without the music or the instrument, and see how your memory fares with those extra challenges. If you can do that, the actual process of performing a piece from memory is pretty easy. So that last litmus test of performing from the mind alone is a great litmus test. Okay, thanks for joining me today. I'll see you in the next one.